The river is one of the safest rivers I could ask for, cause doesn't hit none of the flush draws or the straight draws. So I'm gonna bet here for value. I'm all in. Alright, we're finally here in Vegas. Just left my bag in the hotel, on my way to Bellagio. Right now it's 2 a.m. So I'm gonna try to play late night here. I have a lot of friends that play in Bellagio, so I guess it might be a soft field. I'm gonna try to make a good table selection and I'll let you know how that goes. Alright, let's go! Welcome to the Poker Profit channel, the first poker vlog created to help you becoming a better poker player. I buy in for 500, which is the max at this game. The first hand, I'm in the big blind with 9-4 offsuit. An elderly man limps in the middle position. Small blind completes, and here, even though I have a bad hand in the big blind, I decide to play the spot and exploit the limpers by raising. I will usually not do that. I raise to 30. I won't mind if he folds and I take the pot, which is not what happens. He calls and we see a flop of ace, jack, 9, all of hearts. That's a good flop for me. I have a lot of aces in my range and I just hit bottom pair and a flush draw with the 4. I decide to bet 30. Mostly to protect my equity over hands that I'm beating, and I also have a flush draw with the 4 of hearts. He calls. The turn is a deuce of hearts, which gives me the flush. I decide to check to open space for him to bluff and also control the pot. He checks back. The river is a 3 of hearts. I check again with the same reason than before, and now he bets $150. $150. He raised really big here, which doesn't make any sense to be honest, cause with this sizing, he is representing a big heart. But with a big heart, he would probably bet at least on the turn when he made the flush, which he didn't. So I decide to keep up with the plan and call. And he just mucks, and I muck as well, and I take down the first pot.
Did you have a heart?
That's a good question. Second hand, I get ace queen on the button. Middle position raises to 15. He has around $400 in his stack. I 3-bet to 45 with ace queen in position. And then the small blind cold 4 bets to 150. Middle position folds. And I decide to fold as well because that shows a lot of strength by 4-betting in the small blind. This next hand I get 10 jack suited from the small blind. Middle position and button limp. Middle position is the same guy from the last hand with the 9-4 offsuit. I raise to 35. Middle position calls.
Take him down.
Thank you. Most of the table didn't like this guy because he was really rude, but whatever, he was a bad player and I hope he sticks around. We're playing heads up. The flop comes jack 7-6 with 1 diamond. That's a good flop for me. I'm gonna see bet. I see bet to 45. He calls. The turn is a 8 of hearts. I can find good reasons to check or to bet here. But because I don't think there are so many hands that makes him improve and have a better hand than mine. And also I think there are some hands that he can gain more outs to beat me in the river. So I bet 75, he folds and I take down the pot.
Nice.
Winning 325 in around an hour of game. The next hand I get queen jack offsuit from the low jack. Under the gun +1 limps. I raise to 25 in position. The same old man in the small blind calls, and the under the gun +1 calls as well, so 3 players see the flop. The flop comes ace 3-5 rainbow. They both check to me. I have a lot of aces in my range, so I'm gonna see bet here. I see bet to 35. I think I should make a little bigger here, but 35 is not too bad. The small blind check raises me to 70 and I snap fold. I change seat for 2 seats on the left of that elderly man, so it would be easier to exploit his limps. There's a new player on the under the gun with around $200 in his stack. He raises to 15. The button on my right calls 15. I'm gonna 3-bet here. The button has a lot of chips, like 900 to 1000, so I decide to 3-bet to 60. The under the gun calls. Button calls as well. The stack of the open raiser is 200. Stack of the button is really deep. Button calls. Oh, he re-raised? Oh, that's a re-raise? It didn't. You didn't say. Now we just realized that he re-raised to 105 instead of just calling. And now the button have to leave at least the 65 in the pot. So she decides to call. And after she showed some weakness, by calling the floor, trying to take her $50 back. I think I'm beating her by far with pocket tens. So I'm gonna isolate here. I decide to 5-bet to 310. Now I think I should have made a little bigger, like 340, but that's fine. She folds, and the under the gun is all in for 210. The board runs out 7-6 deuce king queen. I'm pretty sure I'm behind, but turns out I was not. I show the tens, and he mugs, and I take down the pot. Winning 565 now. The table broke. The first hand in the next table, I get pocket aces from the under the gun. I raise to 20, cutoff and big blind calls. So 3 players see the flop. This table seems to be pretty friendly. The flop comes 5, 6, 7 with 2 clubs. That's not the greatest flop for me, but I'm gonna see bet. In case the big blind check raises, there's a good chance I'm gonna fold in the flop or in the turn in case he continues betting. That's not what happens. Both players call. The turn comes a deuce of hearts. That's a very good turn because it doesn't change a lot besides putting another flush draw in the board. If I was winning in the flop, I'm still winning in the turn, so I'm gonna keep betting here. I bet 100, and I think I should bet a little bigger here. Because there are 2 flush draws in the board, they are getting a good price to call in case they have the flush draw. So I think I should bet around 150. Cutoff calls again. I'm pretty confident I'm ahead. Big blind folds. We go heads up to the river. The river is one of the safest rivers I could ask for. The jack of spades. That's a really good card for me, at least in theory, because doesn't hit none of the flush draws or the straight draws. So I'm gonna bet here for value. I bet 190, 50% of the pot. She thinks for a while and decides to shove all in. That's a very bad spot for me. I had a plan to bet fold here. But even though I had this plan, this jack is such a safe card, you know? It would be so weird for her to have 2 pair in the turn and not raising with 2 flush draws in the board. So I'm really curious with what she has. And it's 275 for a pot that has 1042. I have to be right little more than 20% of the time, so this call is profitable. And the jack is a safe card. So after considering my options here, I decide to call the 275.
Top set.
Yeah.
Wow. And she shows a set of jacks hitting 2 outs in the river. What? I owe you?
I didn't call and make it there.
In case you haven't done this yet, hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and share this content to your friends, and thank you so much for your support. This next hand, I get pocket 9s from the cutoff. Under the gun +1 raises to 15. Middle position call. I'm gonna 3-bet here. There are players that rather calling here in position, but I just think my hand is too good comparing to their ranges, and I rather 3-betting in position and be the aggressor than just calling. They both fold and I take the pot. Next hand I get king queen of hearts. I have 1 limper in my right. I raise to 20 in position. The big blind and the limper called me, so 3 players see the flop. The flop comes queen 8 deuce rainbow. I hit top pair. Then the guy in my right leads out to 40. I think I'm beating him most of the times, but I don't see a great reason to raise here. The board is really dry, no straight draws or flush draws for him to be chasing. So I think most of the times here he will just have a pair, and I decide just to call to let him keep betting in the following streets. Big blind folds. The turn comes a 6 of hearts. I improve with a flush draw now. He raises big to 120. I'm not feeling so confident that I'm winning, mostly because of his sizing. But of course I'm gonna call here. I still have the flush draw as a plan B, and I have top pair with a very good kicker. Maybe the top pair is already good enough, so I call. The river comes a 7 of spades. I don't improve to a flush. He decides to check, and I check back here. I didn't see a lot of good reasons to bet. After he showed so much strain in the turn, he shows king 8 offsuit. I show king queen, and I take the pot. Don't play soccer in Brazil, you're kind of weird. I'm not exaggerating. This table was really friendly. I usually avoid talking a lot at the table, so I don't give a lot of information. But this table, they were asking me questions about Brazil, and I was answering. This hand, I get ace-3 suited from the button. 1 limper before me, again. I raise to 25 in position. Small blind calls. Actually, there were 2 limpers before me. Under the gun limped as well, and I didn't realize. He calls. Cutoff calls as well. So 4 players see the flop. The flop is a very good one for me. I got a nut flush draw and a couple runner straight draws. The game is deep, so if I hit my flush, I have a lot of chips to extract from other players. Everybody checks to me. I'm gonna see bet here. I see bet to $50. A really nice elderly man in my left re-raise to 125. The other players fold. Of course I'm calling here. I need to call $75 for a pot that has 275 plus the implied odds of how much I can extract in case I hit my flush. The game is deep. I just wait a little bit not to make it so obvious that I have a flush draw, and I call. He checks in the dark. The turn is a king of clubs. I do not improve. I'm gonna check back. The river is a queen of spades. He checks again. I give up the hand and check back, and he shows a set of jacks in the flop and takes the pot. I'm kind of glad I didn't take money out of him because he's a nice guy, but in case I hit my flush in the turn or in the river, I would probably take a lot of chips from him. Winning $15 now. I get kings from the big blind. Under the gun limps. The small blind raises to 25. I'm gonna 3-bet here. I decide to 3-bet small to $60. Small blind calls. We're playing heads up. The flop comes queen 8-5 with 2 spades. That's a good flop for me. I'm losing mostly to queens, 8s and 5s only. He leads out to 20 again. That was not the first time he made this play by leading out when he's not the aggressor. So I'm gonna raise here. I raise to 60 and he goes all in.
Do you the queens, man? Oh my god.
I was gonna go away.
Shit.
And I hit
Yeah, man.
And I hit,
No, you might have hit the ace queen.
hit enough for I can beat ace queen.
Shit. Ah, my
I can
god.
beat it. You can catch up. There's 2 more cards coming.
How much is that?
That's a lot.
Man, that's a cooler for me.
I need a.
Shit, man. Fuck.
I feel bad because I'm gonna leave shortly after you. You don't want to take a video. This is not one you want to put on the blog. You're gonna lose subscribers on this one.
Oh my god. Man, I have kings.
When you're playing live poker, the answer for all of your questions is right in front of you. In a situation like that, when I tell him I have kings, that might be a trigger for him to give me some information of maybe showing confidence or showing some weakness. And this time, he showed up confidence for me.
I can beat kings. I can beat kings.
Oh my god.
I mean, right now I can. I mean, you got 2 more cards coming.
Shit, bro.
And in the end, that was the main reason why I folded.
I fold, man. I fold.
I decide to fold and he shows 8-5 offsuit, making bottom 2 pairs in the flop. And you can use something like that in many different ways. When you decide to 3-bet someone, look the person in the eye and try to extract some information. Sometimes they won't provide you nothing, but sometimes they will. And spotting tells in live poker has definitely made a lot of profit for me. The exact next hand, I get pocket 9s in the small blind. It folds to the button, same guy from last hand. He raises 20. I'm gonna 3-bet here. My effective stack is around $400. I 3-bet to $70. Button calls. The flop comes queen 4-3 rainbow. I have pocket 9s. I think most of the times I will still be winning here unless he has the king or he's low played a bigger pair than I have, but I don't think this is the case. I see back to 60. He calls really quickly. The turn is a deuce. I decide to slow down and check because I felt confidence from him. He checks back, which is a good sign. The river comes an ace and there are a lot of aces in my range. So I decide to shove and hopefully find a fold from him. He tanks for a while and folds king 8 face up. After a lot of ups and downs, I'm winning $1 and I decide I'm done for today.
Well guys, this is it for today. Honestly, I'm happy with what I saw, even though I won just $1.
The reason why I say the 2-5 at Bellagio is the softest in Vegas is first because I played there and other places, and also because they have a max buy-in of $500, while at Win, for example, it's $1,500, at Area is $1,000, and that ends up making better players rather to play deeper, which helps the field become softer. But you can definitely make money in other 2-5s as well.
I feel like I made some good folds, got some bad beats against me too, so I feel like I won here after the runouts that I got. That jack in the river just took me out a huge pot that I was gonna take it. So yeah, end of first day in Vegas, and stay tuned because there's a lot more to come.
Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next episode. If you have any feedback, you're more than welcome to let me know in the comment section. I want to be able to improve more and more and deliver every day better and better content for you. And see you guys next time.